Good morning, gentlemen. This is the 83rd segment for the Think Before You Speak series, the laws of Shemirat Halashon with clarity, with a few stories. Leilu Nishmat, the great Chafetz Chaim Zechet Tzadik Lebracha. Leilu Nishmat, the great Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zechet Tzadik Lebracha. Leilu Nishmat, Yedidi Nafshi Reb Zechariah Wallerstein. Zechet Tzadik Lebracha. Leilu Nishmat, Luza Liza Bat Henriette and her children that passed in the fire, Ruach Hashem Tenichena Began Eden. And these halachot should be a specific shmira and hatzlacha gedolah zechut for our bnei chabur that learns in the kollel every morning for balabatim from 9 to 11:30. We're pushing it. Bezat Hashem, Bezat Hashem. And these halachot should be a great shmira, hatzlacha gedolah, nesiyat chen, shefa for Chaim Davido ben Chayesah. Today's title for the halachot, Shiduchim and its obstacles. So now I'm going to tell you a quick story, and I'm sure in the past you've heard very similar types of stories when it came to Shiduchim. We have a family who a wonderful Shiduch suggestion came across for their daughter. And sure enough, the boy and girl started going out, and suddenly, out of nowhere, the boy decides to break the Shiduch, doesn't want to continue. So this is very alarming. It seemed that between the boy and the girl, things were going really well. So they reach out to the Shadchan, and this time they find out what they suspected was the reason why the last Shiduchim did not work out for their daughter. The neighbor. The Shadchan this time said, yep, it's not just a suspicion anymore, but your neighbor probably knocked down other Shiduchim in the past for your children, but this neighbor knocked down this Shiduch as well. The other side heard, and they bailed out on the Shiduch and broke it. The mother of the girl breaks out crying. She says, how am I going to ever get my kids married? Every time my kid goes out with somebody, things start to work, good Shiduch, the neighbor comes along, boom, they say their terrible things, and they break the Shiduch. The halacha states, listen to this, that although it's no longer just a suspicion, but actually the Shadchani told you, rechilut, that the neighbor was the one that said something to the boy's family, and that caused the break of the Shiduch, you're still not allowed to believe rechilut. You're allowed to suspect and be suspicious to protect yourself. That in future Shiduchim, you'll make sure maybe that you deal with people that have nothing to do nor any connection with your neighbor. But to believe that it was true, the information that was given, the rechilut, that it was the neighbor that broke the Shiduch, you're not allowed to believe it as truth. You have to hold on to that emunah bitachon, that the right Shiduch, the neighbor, will have no say nor no abilities to break. And therefore, when it comes to rechilut that's heard by other people, even if it's several people that told you the same piece of information about somebody else that supposedly is hurting you, it's still begeder, a rumor. And halachically, you're not allowed to believe it as true. That is the halacha. And if that's the case, you cannot hold anything against the person. You're not allowed to believe it as truth, but you're allowed to suspect it in order to protect yourself in the future. And it's here we tell you the incredible story about the guy in Bnei Brak who was dating for many years. Many years. And sure enough, Shiduch after Shiduch, just when things started to get good, the girls backed out, dropped it like a hot potato. And he found out later on that it was his neighbor next door who, for some reason, had a very bad fight with his family. And they kind of was on this conquest that whatever they could do to break his Shiduchim, they would always find out who he's going out with, and they'd break it. Revenge. So he came to the Chazon Ish. And he asked the Chazon Ish, he said, I'm never going to get married. Every time I go out with a girl and starts getting somewhere, word gets out that I'm dating and it's getting serious. Somehow or other, they ask the neighbor information, and the neighbor, they break the Shiduch with terrible reports. How am I going to ever get married? Chazon Ish smiled at the boy and he said to him, you'll see that when the right one comes along, they'll end up asking everybody information except your neighbor. That's exactly what took place. When the right one came along, they did their due diligence. They went and they asked everybody, including his kindergarten teacher. But they did not ask the neighbor, and he got engaged shortly thereafter. Don't accept rechilut, but even bigger than that, remember that regardless, it's only in the hands of the one who counts. Thank you for listening.